All right, how many of you between speakers took a quick sneak peek at your iPhone or sent off an email? Oh, come on, there's got to be somebody. All right, thank you. Well, there are many in the industry who say that the modern juror has a major case of attention deficit disorder, and all audiences for that matter. And while it's not technically true, we do have a hard time paying attention. And we can blame technology. We become master jugglers. We email, we tweet, we Google, we text, and sometimes this is done from the parking lot, up the elevator to our office. And it's not doing our brain any favors. In fact, research shows that this chronic multitasking and addiction to our shiny toys makes it harder for us to manage our working memory, and this is the kicker, makes it harder to filter out irrelevant data. So when you have a jury or an audience with the average attention span of 15 minutes, that's tricky. That's 3 speakers. And if you're addicted to your iPhone, like a lot of us are, that attention span can go down to 60 seconds or less. So what do we do about that? Let's look at corporate branding for a minute. Corporations for years have hired advertising agencies. Their job is to grab the consumer's attention, hang on to it long enough until they can close the sale, which is exactly what you do with jurors, clients, coworkers. They have a strategy known as AIDA. And while advertisers have a lot more leeway than we do in the courtroom or with clients, it does translate really nicely into courtroom advocacy. We need to grab the jury's attention. The tricky part is maintaining their interest, especially if you do patent litigation. Maintain their desire to instill a desire to make some sort of a meaningful change, and then to drive them to take action on that change, which hopefully is a verdict for your client. So how do you do that? We tell stories. There's not a book, movie, even a lawsuit out there that doesn't have some human element, an experience, a feeling, a need, a desire, something you can tap into and then run with it. So instead of talking about breach of contract and fraud, talk about broken promises and deceit. Because if you can get that jury to feel, they're more likely to pay attention. All right, here's a quiz. How many of you remember this? When you care enough to send the very best, or when it absolutely has to be there overnight. Plot, plot, fizz, fizz. Thank you. We remember these, but they are decades old. Why do we remember them? Because they grab our attention. And the courtroom is the same thing. You can use slogans, we call them themes, bring them into the courtroom, and jurors will categorize the information they get into those themes. Keep it short and simple. This pretty much speaks for itself, so I don't want to go over it too hard, but remember this. Jurors do not need to know all. They need to know enough to render the verdict for you. If you overload them, they're going to tune out. The media does not overload us, and if they do, we fast forward. But the average time length for the lead story in the evening news is 90 seconds. They take their stories and they chop them up into short segments because they know we have the attention span of a flea. They also use visuals. Now I'm going to say this, and if you hear nothing else from me today, remember this. Jurors expect visuals and technology in the courtroom. Everybody. They not only help you target their attention to what you think is relevant, but it helps you gain control over where they're looking and thinking. Now, if my mom, 80 years old, bless her heart, this true story, she sent me a YouTube video last night about cats. If my mom is on YouTube, everybody else is connected. There's also research that shows after 3 days, if you combine the oral with the visual, the amount of recall that we have is 65%. So use them. There are a ton of options. A lot of these are old school, flip chart, laser, but there are many, many digital options. So use them and use them well, because jurors do not have a lot of patience for technology gone bad. Finally, your audience, be it a juror or a CLE group or whoever, their attentions will come and go. But when you look out in the audience and it looks like they'd rather chew their arm off than hear you talk for a few more minutes, it's time to make a change. And there are lots of different ways you can do this. You can change topics. You can change the tone, speed, or power of your voice. You can use movement. You can even use silence. which can be very effective. The persuadable juror is the attentive and interested juror. And to steal the words of Dr. Frank Luntz, small beats large, short beats long, plain beats complex, and sometimes a visual beats them all. And if all else fails, ask for a break. Thank you very much.